Hey guys, welcome back. This is your favorite entrepreneur, Carmen. I'm coming to you guys with a quick training video today, which I will be going over support and resistance in this video. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight into it. So essentially, guys, I use TradingsView as a platform where I actually chart up support and resistance to kind of serve the purpose of an additional indicator using the simple scalper strategy. So today, essentially, what we will be going over is actually charting this up properly. The intent behind using support and resistance is to get a better understanding of knowing where the market's been and knowing where it will go, correct? So here, essentially, this will serve as a fourth indicator, correct? Because I currently use the volume bar, the stochastic, as well as the RSI to go ahead and predict the different locations of where the market will be going, whether we're going to buy or sell into the Forex market. Now, to actually go ahead and chart up support and resistance, there's nothing really, no real wrong or right way to do it, right? It's whatever feels more comfortable to you in that aspect, right? So essentially what you can do, you can honestly go onto a much higher time frame, right? And using this much higher time frame kind of gives you a better view of zooming out and seeing kind of what points the market has reached as far as how high it's been, as well as how low it's gone, to know when a setup is, setting up for a potential trade, knowing if the market is either going to hit that line of support and resistance and actually give you that entry point of a trade, or if in reality it will break beyond that point and continue hitting to the next point of support or resistance, correct? So here, essentially, guys, what I like to do is I like to essentially do it around the 1 hour time frame, right? I take trades in as little as 60 seconds. So this is very useful for me to know where the market's been and where it's going. So I essentially just kind of come in here, right? Red will indicate our resistance, right? Which serves the purpose of using it kind of like a roof, right? When you look at a household, you have a roof and then you have a floor, right? Our floor in this case will be used as an indication of like support, right? So here in this case, I would say, these are a couple points in the market where I've seen the market resist plenty of times before, right? We have 2 points here where I've seen the market kind of just consistently go ahead and resist between these two lines. Now, there are cases where your line of resistance in a more present time can then serve as another support line. What do I mean by that? Well, we can see here that this line here previously was used in the intent of the resistance, which classifies as a roof. But then in a more present time, we can see that this kind of is roughly where the market kind of just hanged around in between. So this essentially then serves the purpose as a support line, right? Which, and then that intent, you can then go ahead and switch the colors around to blue to match your other indicators, right? As far as in your stochastic and in your RSI. So yeah, this is how you guys can essentially do it when coming in to analyze the market, right? So I'm doing it more in a real time kind of entry point, right? So I've seen that it's kind of resisted in these points here, right? There's no, like I said, no right or wrong way of doing it. You can literally chart up as much as you want to give you a clear indication of where, like I said, where the market's been and where it's going to go, correct? I like to really chart it up, and the reason why I like to do that is because when I start switching into a much smaller time frame, it transposes into those smaller time frames, right? Which then gives me a more clear understanding of really knowing where the market will go, right? As we can see here, this line was used as an intent previously as a line of support. Here I can see it's being used kind of as a line of resistance, but you can change that and modify that as you start getting into smaller increments of time, right? So let me actually go ahead and go down to the 1 minute time frame, because that is the time frame that I like to use. And look, coming in and analyzing it from a 1 hour time frame to a down to a 1 minute time frame, we can see how these lines of resistance and support kind of respect that, right? Obviously, you'll see way more opportunities to chart up for support and resistance, right? which is absolutely okay, because you can then go ahead, plug those in, and change those around, right? That's the beauty of this, is that you're able to go ahead and literally chart it up like crazy, because then you kind of have an understanding when the market is turning around, how far high or how low it will go before actually turning around, right? Obviously within respect that you guys are able to micromanage and actually trace that. So here's a clear example that I actually really like when actually looking into the market as far as support and resistance, right? So initially, we know that when using this strategy, we have our three confirmations, right? Our first one being our volume bar, our second one being the stochastic, and the third being the RSI. So the intent with the stochastic and the RSI is that they serve as a mirror purpose for the actual market in real time. So essentially anything that the market is doing in the present time, the stochastic and RSI will initially reflect the same thing. So if you see in any instances where the market completely drops, if you see this white dotted cursor looking straight down below, the stochastic is dropping alongside the RSI, right? You'll see the RSI make some quick, crazier looking turns, right? Looking kind of like a heart monitor, because it's moving at the pace of the actual strength index of those candles, right? Now, looking at this closely, right? You don't have to pay for any additional indicators. I don't need them, right? I've been able to master it down by just using these three indicators and then adding support and resistance to give me successful points of entry, right? So one good example right now at this moment that's actually really standing out to me is actually right here in the market. Okay, so we're going to be looking and analyzing this point of area. Remember, key thing to note here, guys, is where the market's been is where the market will go. So clearly, I've done the analysis from a much higher time frame so that I know within a smaller time frame, there will be more touches around that same line of resistance or line of support, because at a 1 minute time frame, you're having way more candles, right? We're having 60 more candles than you would on a 1 hour time frame. So the beauty about this is that it gives me an opportunity to literally snipe entries into the market, and I'll explain why in just a bit. So the reason why I want to use support and resistance as an example here is because we can see how the market is actually setting up very, very nicely right at this point of line, right? If you guys can see this purple line, this is what I am currently analyzing at, right? We can see the market was currently moving on an uptrend. And this is where we need to be very cautious, right? Because whenever we see the market being caught in a trend, yes, you can see a lot of little movements going on in between. And it's very, very important for us not to get entrapped in this trend, right? We want to catch it right when it's trying to break out of the trend, or right when it's going to give us enough time, right? All we need is one candle to close out a trade, right? However, we don't get in at the opening of the candle. We at least want 2 to 3 candles to give us a secure trade, right? So here initially, as we can see, the market kind of, these lines were just kind of roaming around, hanging around this, top red line on the stochastic, as well as in the RSI. Right? Quick tip, and take note of this. Whenever you see the stochastic and the RSI kind of hanging around this red top line, which is we're used as classifying it as a line of resistance, it's a clear indication that the market is moving on an uptrend. Whenever we see the market initially doing the reversal, right? Another clear example is right over here, guys. It's hanging around the top of the market, okay? It's currently caught in an uptrend, right? And that's what we are trying to avoid, unless we're catching it at the point of entry to actually take advantage of this up for a buy. Now, another example, you see it lingering down here, taking forever to cross that line of support, right? This blue line. It's just the reversal, vice versa. So as we can see here, now it's lingering down here. The opposite is happening. You're seeing a downtrend, right? So whenever you see that, make sure that then you start implementing support and resistance as a key point to you to know, okay, well, how high up is this going to go before it actually reverses, right? And really gives me a nice clear break. Or in the opposite, when will I know how low this is going to continue to drop before actually giving me that final break into the market where I could take advantage and come in for a buy. Okay, guys, key note, you're trading, this is analyzing it in a 1 minute time frame. You don't have to do it on a 1 minute time frame. I use it instead because it's quicker, faster pace, more experience. You guys can definitely trade on a 2, 3, and 5 minute time frames, right? But this is only, of course, for training purposes. Now, we can see, coming back to our initial example, let me go ahead and remove this so there's no confusion, right? So as we can see here, okay, I'm looking for a potential sell opportunity. I've seen the market is kind of wanting to break out, but not officially giving me a full breakout to actually take this for a sell. Yes, you had previous opportunities where you could have actually taken this for a sell. But I would have felt very comfortable? Absolutely not, to take this trade. And why is that? Well, because it's right in the middle between one of my lines of support and one of my lines of resistance. I feel initially more comfortable taking this trade if the market actually is at my line of resistance, at or around. As you can see, it's not ideally on the like dot, right, of where these candles opened and closed, but it's roughly right around there. And as long as you have that, that is sufficient to serve alongside the other 3 confirmations to have the green light to go ahead and take a trade. Now, here, our first indicator here would be this red volume bar, right? I see the market has come up, okay? And I'm using my line of resistance, right? But it's not going to be my first indicator of confirmation. My first indicator of confirmation is going to be this red candle right there, okay? So that's going to then serve the purpose as my first confirmation, right? Moving on to my second confirmation, it will be at this point right here. Oh, let me actually flip the arrow around. So here initially, this arrow right here will show the point that I am waiting for, right? We see the market kind of cross and recross, cross and recross, and then finally recross all the way down. So initially, I want to wait, not for the initial cross, but the recross, right? So I will want to wait for this point right here, where the market initially, both lines initially cross down that line of support, resistance. Now, all that's left to do, right? You have now one confirmation and your second confirmation. Your third and final confirmation is looking down at your RSI and having the same thing being implemented, right? Having this, come up, cross down, come up, cross down numerous times, but we see it recross and then re-break once again. So this is then again the next point, the third and final point, right, that we want to go ahead and take, watch on to make sure that we have this third and final confirmation to have the green light. Now, if you're still kind of flimsy of, okay, well, I have all 3 confirmations, but it's been zigzagging right around that red line, how would I know? Well, my fourth one would be right here, this line of resistance. That will then serve as my fourth and final confirmation to go in for a trade. And how do I know if this trade will be profitable? Well, it's very clear. Like I mentioned, if I am instilling in a 1 minute trade, okay, all I need is one candle to get me in and out of the bag. Simple as that. So as you can see, if I would have actually went in not at the exact opening, but if I would have had 1, 2, 3, and 4 confirmations, and I would have went in at the price point of 331 for that trade, we can see that at 331, okay, price came down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and actually never came back till about almost an hour later and retouched. It got close, but it didn't touch our 331 area, right? It got close around 5 minutes after. All you need is a 1 minute if you're looking at a 1 minute time frame. Let's actually look at a 3 minute time frame to see if the same thing applies, right? We can see here how it's literally off just by a few seconds. As you can see here, I could have just drawn the circles bigger, but it's the same concept. I would have taken a 3 minute trade. Why? Because I had my retouch of that line of resistance. I had my red volume bar. I had my cross above that red line. It recrossed back down, had that numerous times. But what did I wait for? I waited for the alignment. I waited to have all confirmations come together in order to have an effective trade. Here, in an instance, here every volume bar, I mean every candlestick is literally 3 minutes. So take a look at this here. You have 1, 2, 3 to your fourth one. So you're talking about 12 minutes later, and all you needed was 3. Guys, if you guys master this 4-step system, including your support and resistance, this will change the game of your trading. Okay, now let me actually go ahead and look for another potential setup for a buy opportunity, right? So I'm gonna go back down into the actual area to go ahead and look for a buy opportunity. Don't worry about the market. It's looking really crazy. Reason being is because the market just reopened right now, okay, at 2 o'clock PST time. So let me go ahead and go back into the market and see if I can find a good opportunity for a buy, because obviously there are plenty of opportunities, right? Oftentimes, guys, when you're looking at the charts, the volume bar might get in the way. So you can honestly just hide it temporarily, right? And I'm actually looking at a good, literally example of a potential buy, okay? So here, let's see, where did I see it at? Perfect, right here. So initially, as we can see here, I'm looking in this area here. We can see how the market kind of just bounced around in between this for a bit, which was great because you could have initially taken a couple trades here, right? Whether it's a sell opportunity and or a buy. So as we can see here, it's not right there, but it's near enough, okay? All we needed here is our 4 confirmations, right? So I'm looking at this area right here, okay? So as you guys can see, let me go ahead and remove that. Our first confirmation here will once again be this blue volume bar right here. Perfect. So that will serve as our first confirmation, right? Our second confirmation, we spoke about how red is initially, anything red is for sell, whether it's red volume bar, red candlesticks, red line of resistance, you're looking for opportunities to sell. When you're looking to buy, everything is the opposite, right? Everything is blue. Blue candles, blue volume bars, and blue lines of support, and right? So here initially, we have our first confirmation. Our second confirmation, we see the market initially coming down, breaking, and then re-breaking. So what are we initially waiting for? We're waiting for that re-break, right? Same thing down here. It's a smaller re-break. Sometimes you won't have an official clear break, kind of like how it is here with that orange line. But if you have this, but it's not crossed down below, I wouldn't feel comfortable taking it. I have to at least visually see a cross on both the stochastic and RSI, okay? So I would wait for that re-break right there. I know it's kind of hard to see, but let me go ahead and attempt to zoom in so you guys can go ahead and see. That purple line recrosses back up on that blue line of support. So now here, okay, you see, let me actually point out the arrow. Perfect. So we can see here, let me actually reverse that. Perfect. So we see here now a display of our second and third confirmations, right? So what is left to know? Okay, well, how do I know if I'm gonna have a quick turnaround, right? The market is gonna quickly turn around and show me, you know, a quick flip of a trade that I can take in 1 to 3 minutes, right? Well, you look now here up at your line of support and resistance and see roughly if you're at a point where you feel comfortable that the market has previously turned around. And looking at this, right, I could honestly draw yet another line of support here, right? And it would still become valid. It would be a bit more precise. Why is that? Because I'm looking at previous history. You don't have to go back to the 1 hour time frame because now you're analyzing it on a much concentrated time frame, which literally looking at here previously, I can see how at this new line, at this new blue line, let me remove the second one, okay? You can see how the market kind of came down, got real close, reversed, okay, did its thing, came down, resisted plenty of times till finally it gave out, broke out of that, came back down, retouched, went up, came down, retouched, came up. So this now for me becomes a very valid point. Okay, you can see it here again in the more present time, how price kind of just lingered on that line of support. So going back to our example, okay, we now have 1, 2, 3 confirmations and our very final one being our fourth one, right? And we know this because it's at our line of support, which is our blue line here, okay? So this has now given me a green light to take a buy. Okay, I have all of my confirmations needed to take a buy opportunity. So if I would have gone in at 253, okay, look at this. It came up for quite a bit. You're talking about maybe 10 to 12 minutes, and you would have been in the clear. Literally cleared it out by using support and resistance, guys. It doesn't get easier than this, right? It's now all a matter of practice of knowing when to actually take these trades, right? Literally looking back, you're seeing how this kind of flips and like traps the market right in between this red line of resistance and this blue line of support. Here's another opportunity for a potential sell. You can see when there's a bit higher here, right? So it's all about marking up your charts and seeing if this would be a valid point of resistance. And yes, it would clearly be a valid line of resistance. And why is that? Not just because the market went and touched there, do I know? No, because it tried to reverse here. It tried to reverse here. And initially, looking back, this is the red line I'm looking at, guys. Look at this. How many times could you have not trapped the market in here? Literally. Yes, this line of red line could have then turned into a line of support, and you could have trapped the market in there, giving you opportunities to buy and sell. Of course, according to having all of your confirmations, right? So looking at it here, we can see how this is a valid line. What becomes a valid line of resistance or support for me? Well, I need to see a minimum of about 3 touches on that line, right? I feel more comfortable if it's 4 and above. But really all you need is 3, because that lets me know that that's a strong point of resistance or support where the market has touched multiple times and then reversed, right? So then that lets me know that if the market returns to reach right around that point of entry, okay, that there's a good chance that the market will go ahead and reverse into the opposite side, which gives me plenty of time to take advantage for a sell or for a buy, okay? This is another great opportunity to come in and look for a sell, right? So we have, okay, initially, we have our first indicator once more, okay? That is our red volume bar, okay? Number 1. Our second one, we see a break. We see it kind of lingering, right? What did I say when it's lingering? When it lingers right around that top red line, it's a clear indication that the market is currently on an uptrend, right? Then comes the line of resistance to let us know, hey, if it hits this line, the market will then turn around. If this breaks out and continues up, it will go to the next line of resistance and then come right back down, right? So that's why it's very important to get a good hold of practicing your support and resistance, because the more you do it, the better opportunities you'll have before getting in too early for a trade, because there will be times where the market comes down, recrosses back down on both, okay? And then initially it pulls back, reverts, and then it will continue pushing up. And because you didn't have your line of support and resistance, it can essentially fake you out of a market. That's why I love support and resistance, because those are key in helping you know how high or how low the market is going, okay? Now, initially we can see here, first confirmation, okay? Our second confirmation is at this recross right here, okay? Giving us our second confirmation, and doing the exact same thing down below on the RSI, right? Guys, I've been implementing this now, using this strategy now for the past 16 months. And then when I implemented support and resistance, the game completely changed. You might see other educators using Bollinger Bands, the EMA, parabolic dots, and those are amazing, right? Obviously, because we don't want you guys to have to pay additional for those indicators on TradingView, you have them at your disposal using your Liberty app through your academy. So if you really wanted to use those additional indicators, you can absolutely do so through your Liberty app, which is already included in your HFX package, right? But now we can see here that at this price of entry, which is 412, having all these confirmations, 1, 2, 3, I have the green light, but to be certain, I also have my line of resistance, which then serves as my number 4. Okay, going in at 412, we can see how the market continued to drop, and it still did not come, and actually has not come. It got close, and it retouched yet hours later. Hours later, it finally retouched. That was and look at this. All the examples that you could literally, other trades that you could have taken in between. Look, example number 1, example number 2, and example number 3, right? There are cases where the market can actually revert, give it here, come right back up again, give you another potential for a buy, come down again for a sell, come up for a buy, if you guys literally learn how to analyze it, right? As traders, we get paid to wait, literally, because we're waiting for the market to set up essentially where we want it, right? I'm very specific about the entries from my entries, right? So this is very, very crucial when trading, especially as a new trader. We know you're going through the emotions of excitement, right? I want to take my first trades. I want to start growing my account. I want to start winning trades. Been there. But we need to make sure that we never chase the market. We wait for the market to come to us, right? And as you become a more experienced trader, you'll notice that you have the liberty of analyzing as many different currency pairs as you wish, which is the beauty about Forex, is that you have multiple options, right? But essentially here, okay, in this case, I'm looking at GBP CAD, where there's multiple points by using this simple strategy known as the simple scalper with a combination of support and resistance. Okay, in the next video I'll be showing more into depth about how to really know when to go into a trade, when is it too late to go into a trade, and so on and so forth, right? So as your guys' questions continue to develop, we'll continue to implement and bring out more videos for you guys. But with that being said, guys, this is just our examples today on how to implement support and resistance to the simple scalper strategy. So stay tuned, guys, and hope you guys see the true value in this. Thank you.